Okay, so we are live with the Node.js release working group meeting for the 24th of September 2020. And we will work from the agenda item, which is in the Node.js release GitHub repository, and it's issue 611. And I'll start as normal. Are there any announcements that anyone would like to make today? A couple I'd just highlight are there were some security releases that went out this month, and you should check those out and try and upgrade where possible. And also Node 15 is due to be released on the 20th of October. There's the first release candidate is available, and I will put the link in the minutes. And I think the first item to discuss on the agenda will be the Node.js 12 release. I don't know if anyone wants to introduce this while I share my screen. I think it was mainly timings we were hoping to sync on today.
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. Do we have a link to this in the chat somewhere? Okay, you have it. It looks like from what I recall, as I'm bringing up the link on my computer now, is that it just doesn't look like there's been anyone assigned, and so we've skipped the last one. I am not sure that I have time to do all of the auditing myself, but I am happy to take on the actual release and do some of the auditing for sure. If that sounds potentially good to people. I think that the one thing we would need to work out, because obviously like the schedule's all wonky now, is what date we'd like to do that release on.
Yeah. So I don't know if the plan is to still squeeze 2 miners in before maintenance, or do we drop one of these?
We don't have Miles yet, do we? Because
No.
there was a whole bunch of module stuff that I think Miles was trying to get in, but was a little bit doubtful we could get them in quickly, or we would want to get them in quickly.
My first kind of thoughts are that the last release before we enter maintenance, I feel like it should be a patch so that we can put the miner out, and then if there's anything we need to patch up, it can go out in a patch to just, rather than dropping a load of new features in just before it hits maintenance. But I don't know how that would work with timings. I guess the patch release could go out towards the end of October, and then that would leave time for the miner anywhen in the rest of September and October. I don't know if that timing would work. That's just my first thoughts. I think, I believe Anna has landed some miners on the 12x staging branch, so the next release will be a miner. I think we've committed to that. So I guess really it's down to the person who has the time to do the release to assign dates that works for them, if they're the ones going to have to do the promotion, etc., and free up their time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy to sign myself up for this one, or at least the next one. I can take on the next miner.
I just looked at the comparison view between v12.x and v12.x staging, and apparently Anna already backported more than 400 commits to it. So maybe the auditing will not be that difficult, actually. Maybe she did everything already. Okay. I don't know.
Part of me thinks, oh, carry on.
Oh, sorry. I just, I got a ping from Miles. I just pinged him and asked him if he could make this meeting. He said he can't make the meeting, but we do have 2 apparent changes that we want on 12. The one that hasn't landed yet is this one. and one that just landed on 14. And I think those are the only module ones that we do want to make sure get back. And I believe that the one that I just linked is being discussed in the TSC meeting today. And the other one, which just landed, I also just dropped in the chat. And those are the only two from the modules group that we do want to make sure get to V12 before maintenance.
Okay, sure. I guess my if there are already 400 commits, including minors on the staging branch, then we should probably continue with 2 minors going out and try to get the first one out kind of as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not wait for the modules ones to land.
I mean, I think I can try for next Tuesday.
Okay. Yep. I will.
That seems like a. I would say that there's 80% chance of that happening.
Okay.
Like, it looks like most stuff's already kind of on there, and or at least enough that like it wouldn't be bad to just. I would say like even if we just release with like 500 commits and not the entirety of the audit's done, like that's still fine. I don't know.
Yep. It's going to be hard to catch up with 12. So yeah, I'm not sure. I guess for this one, it's whenever we probably won't enforce a like 2-week RC phase because it's kind of important that we get it out sooner. I think in this case. So if we aim for what day is next Tuesday?
It's a good question. So we could either we could do two things. We could aim for I could have the RC done. Potentially, I could have the RC done by Monday, and then if we wanted to do the next Tuesday after that as the release, that at least give us a week. That might be a little bit safer.
Yeah, I think that sounds.
So let's try to do like RC by next Tuesday, and then do a week.
Yep. I think these days are right. 10, 6. And that will be the next one of those. And what's that leave? This one will need to bump to at least October. Maybe we won't need to do this patch if we're going to pick up so much. And I wonder if we drop this one. 12, 19, 1. Do 2 minors in a row. I guess if those modules changes do land in time to make it into your release, Shelley, on the 6th of October, we may not need to do this second minor.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. So I'm
for those changes, it may still be good to have them in 14 for at least 1 or 2 weeks before we backport them.
Yeah. I'm just torn on.
It's hype for that, isn't it? I don't. When's the next 14 release due? Because we did one. Roy just did one recently. So
Let me open it.
Yeah.
We could do an extra 14 release just to buy us a week, like slot an additional one in the middle. So we could do one next week if the module stuff lands, and that buys us a little more time.
Yeah.
And then maybe at that point it would be worth considering pushing Shelley's release by a week, because at that point they would have had 2 weeks in 14. But that's all if the module stuff lands in time for a release next Tuesday, which I don't know the likelihood of that happening. So I think the best thing to do for now is we've got the next minor we'll keep an eye on the modules changes. If they do land, we can discuss, I don't know, maybe reducing the baking time slightly, or maybe pushing this out by a week to get them in so we don't have to do 2 minors, but we can like discuss that when it happens, I guess. But for now, we've got the next release planned. Can anyone else think of anything else we can do kind of prior to that happening, prior to the modules changes landing? Any decisions we can come to?
Not if we want it out in a current release.
First.
Yeah.
So I guess the other thing is like a current release possibly doesn't have to happen on a Tuesday. I know we aim for Tuesdays, but we don't often, sometimes we don't release on a Tuesday, we release on a Wednesday or Thursday just because things happen. So we can consider doing that. Once it's landed, just spinning out a release to get out as quick as possible.
Well, we try not to release on a Friday, so even if those things landed today, we'd be looking at what Monday, and
well,
then
pretty much
Tuesday.
Probably Tuesday anyway.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I think that's the plan for now. We keep the minors scheduled. If we end up doing both a minor and a patch in October, kind of so be it. That's okay. Yeah, and we've also got the so maintenance isn't a hard restriction. We've always left some freedom within the guidelines to say if the whole LTS team agrees, pulling this PR back is important for migration or for stability or on across release lines, then we will do it. So I think we should be okay getting these modules changes in. Okay, I'll probably leave that one there. And the next item to discuss, I think, Richard, you mentioned a 10 release. We don't have one on the schedule because with maintenance, we kind of just do them ad hoc. I think you mentioned at the moment there wasn't an API.
I'll paste the link in the chat, and I've put it in the agenda doc as well.
Okay.
So there's an API PR that is in 14 and is in 12, but it's not in 10, and it adds a build variable that the add-ons can reference in their binding GYP files, and it's not there in 10. So there's at least one module out there that uses an API that tries to use this variable, and because it's not there, it fails to build on Node 10. So it's an edge cases sort of compatibility thing.
Yeah. So
I'm fine with it landing. The only question then is the actual mechanics of how does it actually end up in a release, given that we have no releases planned.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe we should put a call out.
Yeah, so I have in the NAPI PR, I've asked the NAPI team if there are any other things that they're aware of that they would want backported for an API. There is one other 10 open backport, which I think you just passed over in one of the windows.
Yes.
And I don't know too much about that one. So there might be a little bit of content. I guess it's just a sort of balancing act as to how much content do we consider enough for a release versus, just putting it off for a little bit and just to let them accumulate.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards letting them accumulate a bit more, so we're not doing a release for like 2 commits. But I think maybe to try and be a bit more active, somehow we can try and ask the question to the other collaborators and go through open issues or something to try and see if there's anything else that needs backporting. And if after a couple of weeks or maybe a month nothing else appears, maybe we do just a release with 3 open commits that we have.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I can take an action to kind of skim through the issues tracker to see if anything else was marked LTS Watch 10, because there might be some other things actually that we've
I don't know.
seen.
I think I did a reasonable good job clearing out everything that had LTS watch labels.
It might be a good time to audit some of these anyway, so I might go through everything tagged LTS watch.
Okay.
And unlabel. And from there, hopefully we'll get at least a few commits. And then I think we'll be good to go. But if we don't get any in, say, a month, I think we'll just do the release anyway.
Sounds good.
Okay. And I think that's all we had on the list to discuss. So for 14, we may do an extra release next week. For 12, Shelley's volunteered to do the next minor, which already has a lot of commits in. It's going to be a big release. For 10, we're going to keep track and try and build up some more so we can just do one release with a bunch of them. And I think that's all. So anything else anyone wants to use this time for or talk about?
I have posted in the chat room the calendar entry for these meetings has an incorrect Zoom link. So I think it's like the old Zoom ID, the one that expired.
Okay, yeah, I'll go through and try and patch all those up.
It's weird. I think one of them's just wrong, and the other one, it looks correct, but the actual link isn't the text. So the text looks right, but it's linking to another ID, which Zoom says is invalid.
Okay, yeah, I might take a look and try and fix that. Sure. I'll try and get that sorted by next meeting.
Okay. Is there anything to talk about with 15, or is that all within like the TSC discussions?
Probably worth just giving an update. So 15 did the first release candidate. It's got the throw on unhandled rejections. I was kind of waiting for that to land into the release before I shipped out the first RFC. The UMask runtime deprecation warning is still firing everywhere. So I think in the TSC meeting this evening for me, we're going to discuss reverting that to a doc-only deprecation, because it is quite widespread. A lot of modules are still using the deprecated UMask method. I know there was also the concern around V8 and on ARM, but I'm not sure what there is from a release front to discuss on that, if anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's more a question for the TSC or the build working group.
Yeah, I think one thing possibly we need to do, I'm not sure if it's already been done for nightlies, there's the list of expected assets for 15. I don't know if we need to PR that in or that already exists.
We probably will need to PR it in.
Okay.
But I unless we drop anything, it's going to be the same copy of the 14 expected assets.
Yeah, and for 15, I think each week, because we're past the December major cutoff at this point, it's a case of cherry picking everything that's patch or minor into the release manually, and then just updating it each week. And then the change log should be finalized the week before. I hope we don't have to drop anything in the last week, so we have time in the last week to get a nice full change log written up. I think SitGym is another thing that possibly need to take a look at for 15. It's a bit difficult to debug it at the moment because of the UMask deprecation warning tripping a lot of things up. So maybe once that's reverted, I'll try and get a green SitGym on it. Yeah.
No, just for awareness, I am going through some old pending issues in SitGym and trying to close some of those off. I've got a PR for SitGym to fix the Windows SitGym runs. So I don't know if anyone's noticed, for a long time, Windows has not been posting test results in the SitGym job. So the good news is I've got a patch that fixes that. The bad news is we suddenly see failures that we just hadn't spotted before because Sitchin was bailing out early. So just for awareness, if anyone runs Sitchin after I've merged the fix to Sitchin in, you might start seeing failures on Windows that we haven't seen before because we just Sitchin was just aborting before it wrote out the result files.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Richard. Anything else anyone wants to raise or mention? No? Okay. If that's the case, I'll end the call and give you all half an hour back.
Right.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.